My beautiful folks, what is up and how are you doing? This is Valentine the Plug straight from the Danger Room, and in this video we're going to be talking about passing chords. I'm going to put you onto the passing chords that I use a lot, and I'm going to break them down just a little bit. Let's go. So before we get into passing chords, the actual passing chords that I use, let's try and demystify them shits a little bit first. A passing chord is no more than a chord in between two chords connecting them together. So if this is a chord, this is a chord, your passing chord is the chord in between. Now that chord serves a specific function. It's kind of the lead in into the next chord. It really helps connect the two progressions together, the two chords together, to create a logical story. You know how back in the day when we used to watch Dragon Ball Z or whatever anime or whatever cartoon, and the narrator is like, next time on Dragon Ball Z, that's basically your passing chord. It'll tell you what's to come. It basically makes that transition into the next chord a lot more logical. If a chord progression is a story and chords are the chapters, then a passing chord is the lead in into the next chapter, and that's how you get that cohesiveness. A passing chord can be consonant, and with consonant chords we refer to your regular minor 7, your major 7, and that kind of stuff. Or it can have a little dissonance, like a diminished chord, like a dominant chord, like a flat 5 chord, a 7 sus 4 chord, an augmented chord, or whatever. And we're gonna take our time exploring those little passing chords. Alright, you beautiful souls, welcome back into FL Studio, and it's a beautiful day to do a little breakdown. So I want to demo passing chords by showing you a quick little 1-5-4-5 chord progression in the key of G minor. Starts off on a G minor 7, goes to an inverted D minor 7, lands on an inverted C minor 7, goes back to an inverted D minor 7. Y'all get the gist of it. So I'm gonna play you this regular chord progression, and then I'm gonna play you a version with some passing chords. Yay. So pretty basic and vanilla chord progression, and the cool thing about passing chords, they do not only add another layer to the vibe, but they do add some kind of rhythmic element as well. So let me just scroll down to pattern 5. You can see that I've added a passing chord right here. I'm rocking with my G7 sus 4 chord, which is a passing chord that I regularly use, sometimes as an alternative to a dominant chord, which is a dope passing chord in itself. Sometimes I use a minor 6th chord as well, and a minor 6th chord can just be considered an inversion of a minor 7th chord. And let's not get ahead. Let me just play y'all this chord progression so y'all can see for yourself the magic. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard how it immediately sounds better. It sounds more invocative, and it really adds a lot of cool movement to the already, basic and essentially great chord movement. So there really is no strategy that I use as to where I place my passing chords. You can basically place them wherever you want, as long as it makes the lead into your next chord logical. Now, passing chords are even more effective if you essentially have a climax. So if you have a chord progression that ends on the dominant degree, the 5th degree in the scale, then having a passing chord leading into that, such as the secondary dominant chord, is an amazing tactic to use. So there isn't no rule as to why and when you should use them, but they do have a lot of merit around specific particular places, which is, for example, the climax of your chord progression, or at the end here when you're going back to the root, which is what I did with this dominant chord right here. I know that a D is the 5th, of course, and the 5th likes to resolve to the 1st, which is my G minor 7. So that makes it very logical for me to just take this D dominant 7 chord, put it at the end, and that's how I get that sweet cycling back to my root chord. Alright, so let me demo y'all the next chord progression, which is one that I really like. Alright, beautiful folks, quick little overview of this chord progression. 4-5-1 in the key of F sharp minor, starts with a B minor 7, goes to a C minor 7, lands on an F sharp minor 9, lands on an inverted F minor 7 or an A major 6 chord, however you want to look at it. So if you scroll down all the way to pattern 1, you can see that I asked on the passing chords, spice it up just a little bit, where instead of going from that C sharp major, C sharp minor 7 into that F minor 9, we take a little stop here and we play that B diminished 7 chord. Super sweet. And we end this little phrase with a C sharp dominant 7 with a flat 9. So the passing chords that we're using is a B diminished 7 chord, remember that, and a dominant 7 flat 9 chord. And flat 9 chords are chords that are just a little dissonant, that have their notes lowered or raised, altered as we call it. They are amazing in adding that specific R&B sauce, that specific tension that you're looking for in R&B beats. So let me just run this back again so y'all can have an idea of what exactly it was that I did. What do we have here? One of the most vanilla R&B chord progressions. I've said it before, it is the 6-5-1 chord progression, but it sounds a little bit different because I'm playing that C sharp minor 7 chord in unison, which I kind of feel like it allows me to get away from the kind of darker, more moody, melancholic nature of the 6-5-1 chord progression. But let me just play it, let me just run it for y'all so y'all can have an idea of what it sounds like, and then we're gonna break down the passing chords. So the passing chords that I'm using, right? Let's actually head into this one. This may look a little weird, but this is actually an A minor 7 with a flat 5. And they also call that the half diminished chord, because in fact I'm taking that 5, I'm raising it down a half step. That's essentially diminishing it. And if I were to take this G right here and I would diminish that, boom, that's a diminished 7 chord. So we're gonna raise that baby back up. We're gonna lift that D sharp where it is. Half diminished chords, also known as the flat 5 chords. Keep them in mind, y'all. So the other passing chord that I'm rocking with is a G7 sus4 chord. That's slowly becoming my bread and butter in terms of passing chords. The other passing chords, well, there's this whole stretch of passing chords right here, and it may sound like a little bit too much, and I guess the lesson here is don't overdo with the passing chords. But if you want to end like a nice kind of ending stretch, a nice kind of ending cadence, then you may want to consider rocking with an augmented chord. They are always good, and of course your 7 sus4 chords, they always do the trick. But you can also see in terms of passing chords, you can also just go for the regular schmegular minor 7 chords, because like I said in the beginning, you can use consonant chords like your minor 7, your major 7 chords, or chords with a little bit of dissonance as well to start making those passing chords. So here's a tip that you can use to start adding your own passing chords, or at least getting a tentative idea of how to get a good chord movement. So I take a basic chord progression, and basically with every top note, with basically every 7th or basically every 5th of the chord, I basically just start clicking notes up and down until I get an interval that sounds good. So for example, from this to this, da, da, sounds good. I like that interval, and I try and construct a chord around that interval, and that's how I get my passing chords. Usually I end up with a major 7 or a minor 7 chord, and that's when I start messing around, turning them into diminished, dominant, half diminished, dominant 7 flat 9, 7 sus4, and that kind of stuff. So beautiful folks, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this concise video about passing chords, and I do hope that the information in this video was helpful to you, of course. If you enjoyed this video, hit me up with a like, a share, and a sub, of course. Run and tell all your friends, and I'm gonna be back with another video real soon. Y'all be easy. Peace.